All right, I guess we're live. This is the first one. I'm kind of hoping everything's set up correctly. This is ValorCraft Workshop. My name's Will, and I'm trying a new format out today. Trying to remove some friction and things. Trying to tell you everything all at once, and trying to figure a logical order to go about this. I think you'll learn more about me and the shop as I continue to do these things. I've done a number of short videos, YouTube shorts, little 3-minute plans of the day. Usually those start with about 8 to 10 minutes of content, and it takes an extremely long time to edit that down to under 3 minutes to make it a short or an Instagram reel. I think it's attributed to Mark Twain. There's a saying, I'm sorry I would have written you a shorter message, but I didn't have enough time. Something like that. I don't think I got the quote right, and it may not be attributed correctly either. But the point being, it's very difficult to pack, it's packing 10 pounds of shit into a 5-pound bag, really, when you're trying to make a short with that idea of that's the content that's going to carry your whole message through a week. Getting into 3 minutes can be very difficult. So enough about that. But I've done a number of those, and I'll still do these. And I think if I do some longer content at the beginning of the week, it's going to make little updates to the week through shorts and reels, a lot easier. So I'm trying to remove some friction and all this too. I've wanted to do some longer form video, but getting the right topic and having this idea, it has to be super well polished, and a number of retakes after retakes just to get it right. And guess what? It's still not Mr. Beast. It's still not Gary V. It's still not Casey Neistat, any of those. Not that I'm trying to be any of them. Or I'm trying to be all of them. I don't know. Definitely I'm not trying to be Mr. Beast. But friction points in there are trying to make things perfect. So I spent, I'll weave in some background on me. I spent 32 years in the military. I was in Army bands, first as a percussionist, as a drummer, 10 years of that. And then as a conductor, director of bands, and administrator for the band program in general for the remaining 22 years. As a warrant officer, if you've heard anything about warrant officers, we're very detail-oriented, perfectionists in some ways. Sometimes, in my case, it's to a fault of not being able to get things done, not being able to publish stuff, because this idea that it has to be just right or just so before it goes out the door. And unfortunately, it's not perfectionism in the sense of like, ooh, everything I produce is awesome. It's more in the sense of I put some constraints in place or put some standards in place that make it impossible to achieve. But it also gives me an excuse for not getting things done. I do that a lot. So I'm doing self-therapy live. You get to witness all of this stuff inside my head. So ValorCraft Workshop, sort of what is it? This is, I've got some notes here to keep me on track a little bit. And this is my 30-second opening, about 5 minutes in. This is a personal vlog. It's taken many forms. When I started this shop, like it's literally a workshop, and it is the name of one of my Etsy shops. ValorCraft US is that shop. But it's a bit of a play on words. It's after 32 years of service in the military, still wanting to serve that military community, to transition from military life to civilian life with honor, with valor, with, carrying all those characteristics, all those character traits, those values that were important to me while serving, carrying those into my civilian life, and having a plan for things so I don't just rot away, or I don't just take another government service job like so many others do, and no fault to them if that's what they want to do. I wanted to do something different when I got out. And so the workshop is a bit of a metaphor for, I mean, the physical space, but really it deals with me as a veteran, as a creative person, looking for that creative outlet, and background in woodworking and some other new discoveries that have happened as well, led to this workshop. And so these videos, this channel is really a lot about me thinking out loud. I've got separate blogs on Substack, and a lot of the topic today is feeding off of a blog post I posted this morning on Substack to my Moments of Will, sort of my personal blog. So that's more the writing and the thinking on paper, a little bit more formed thought, although sometimes when I read it back, it means one thing to me, and I've already discovered from some feedback within the first couple of hours of that blog being out, I don't think I conveyed my message as well as I could. So this sort of augments that and goes in different directions. That's why I have my outline. The outline's based off of that blog to give me somewhere else to go back to should I stumble here and just stare at the camera. I've got some grounding points to come back to talk about. And I'm also not going to try to fit the whole background of all this into this one video. My plan is the beginning of the week, typically on Mondays, 8 a.m. I live in Arizona, so that's not 8 a.m. for everybody, but it is for those out here in Mountain Time. I think we're aligned with Mountain Time at the moment. And so the goal is 8 o'clock. It's 10:30 now. But a lot of that was, I'm doing this live stream to remove the friction of like keep doing retakes and having to edit after. But I had to get certain things set up, certain software set up to use the camera that I'm using and the microphone that I'm using to hopefully, and I'm hoping this is all going through. Someone's viewing it. I see one viewer out there. Where was I at? So to remove all those friction points, there was a lot of friction in getting the thing set up in the first place. And I was a little bit behind in doing a couple other things. I do have a number of 3D printers, and I always like to get those running because I only have a certain amount of time in the studio during the day, and I want to get some things printed during the day so I can run printers overnight, and just trying to manage that time, project management of things there. So some friction points there. This isn't the best lighting. This isn't ultimately where I want to film these things, but if I wait for my video set to be set up, this will never happen because that's been on the list for 2.5 years now, or 2 years. And so I'm looking at my to-do list over on a dry erase board over there, and a lot of things I haven't gotten done. But getting that studio set, it was one of those things, and it's certainly not there. So this is sort of my personal vlog through the vehicle of the workshop. I could just name it after my blog, Moments of Will, or other web pages I have out there. Hello, my name is Will. It's another classic old blog I had. I could do that, but I kind of like the era I am in with this project right now, calling it ValorCraft Workshop. It is my creative studio. It is the vehicle for carrying the story forward, sort of how does a veteran negotiate that transition from military life to civilian life, whether they're working or they're not working, whether the creative piece is as a hobby. I always encourage everyone, even if you're working full-time in a very non-creative job, I mean, easy for me to say because I've got the time to invest in this sort of work. But but still find something, some time to carve out for those creative pursuits. All right, I'm going to go off on a lot of tangents. Another thing you're going to hear a lot from me is this philosophy I have, and I'm a framework, I guess, is how I would word it. And this goes for my personal life. I'm trying to make it more of my personal life. Personal life, in the studio, everywhere really. This idea of what I call the H3 framework. That's head, hands, and heart. And anything I'm doing should be feeding one or two, or ideally all three of those things, for it to be a worthwhile. So you'll hear H3. All right, I think we're still alive. I hope we're still alive. Oh, I see what happened. So yeah, we'll figure this one out later. We'll go live. What I'm hoping to do from these videos is to take the video afterward and edit it. And I'm gonna have to just pull it off of. I'll have to pull it down off YouTube, I guess. I have a 10-minute. I just realized maybe I can change that setting live for you. This is exciting, folks. I know you all want to see this, but maybe I can change my setting for. I've got a 10-minute timer on my camera. I was recording on the camera as well. And I think it shuts off after 10 minutes. One of those. I would like to use this audio some more. Jeez. Probably not in that mode. Sorry about this, everybody. I can't get the setting because it's in webcam mode. All right, this is gonna be a little weird, but I think the live is gonna keep streaming. I'll unplug it from that for a second. And now, so now you can't see me. You probably can't hear me either. Or maybe you can hear me too. You're picking me up off the microphone, off the computer. And if I can just go in here real quick and shut off the auto timer on the camera. Where did it be at? I think it'd be in here. Flip. Turn mic audio back up. No, I don't need to do that. this is exciting for anyone watching. And I know it's black right now, and you can maybe hear me. Oh, 2 minutes. What? No, auto power off. That's fine. I'm using it. LED, continuous. Live stream. Ah. Well, I don't know. Well, I think I'm gonna hose that up pretty good. Shut it off, turn it back on. All right, I think we're still going. I am going to hop over to my YouTube page. Guys, I know this sucks. No one's liking this at the moment. I get it. The nice part about it, it does show that I'm live right now. The nice part about it is I'm going to do an edit. So you'll get the abridged version tomorrow. Yeah, let's shut the volume up on that. But it is live, it is going, so that is good. Let me take it off that screen so I don't have to look at myself. All right, man, back on topic. And I guess it just won't get recorded, or I'll pull video down from YouTube later. I hope I can do that. Or if it's automatically recording on, oh. Well, okay, now I'm recording as well on OBS. All right, this is stuff I didn't want to do live that I just did live. All right, back to where I was going. So that's the intro. Head, hands, heart, that's the main framework I operate within. These Monday morning lives, again, are meant to be frictionless. You saw all sorts of friction right now. I intend on hopping online at 8 o'clock on Monday mornings, Mountain Time, Arizona Mountain Time, and for 30 minutes, but I imagine I'll ramble some days and go up to an hour. On Monday nights, I'll edit that down just with using subtractive editing, where I'm just pulling crap out, or maybe just keying in on a couple key points that were decent, or in this case, chopping out that whole piece where I was fumbling around with the camera and trying to figure out why it was shutting off on me, and hopefully it doesn't do that again. So things like that. It's going to produce more content for me through the week, making some shorts from it, and then also allow me to put this video out immediately and get some immediate feedback. I mean, I've got 1 view right now, and concurrent viewers, there's 0. So there's no viewers watching right now. I don't know who popped on real quick and then left. So I'm talking to no one at the moment, which is fine. Good, which means no one saw, 5 minutes of me screwing around with the camera. All right. So where the blog post kicked off this week was I had found an old Notion board. There's a program called Notion. It's really a giant database, great way to organize thoughts in different formats, calendar views. I use this for production calendars, for the shop, for the different aspects of the shop, idea generation, places to capture thoughts, capture tables of ideas for content creation. If I ever get an idea, pop it in there. I'm sure I'm going to do some future videos on how I use Notion. There's a couple key workbooks that I use within there that are very helpful to me just for jotting down ideas and keeping them organized somewhere. I'm still working on it. And I'm sure there's better ways to do it, and I'm always trying to perfect it. And I think once I get it to that 90% solution of what works right for me, that's when I will do a video for the masses of how I use it. Anyway, I came across this one notebook called, it was within a retirement planner. I created this 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago probably, as I was preparing to retire, about 6 months before I was leaving the Army. I left the Army from my last duty station in Korea in summer of 2023. So I'm nearing the 3-year mark since I retired, since I left the Army, and then I had a few months of terminal leave, and then so officially October 1st, I guess, of 2023. So about 2 years, 3 months since I was officially retired. Right? Just to give you a context of how long it's been. So I find this notebook that I wrote, the planner that I wrote in 2023, early 2023, so 3 years ago. And this particular notebook was called Retirement Year One, and it laid out sort of my different channels of income that I was going to have, or different activities I was looking at doing, and some of the things I was doing as I was getting out. I already had my project management professional credential. The Army was paying for other credentials too, so I'm like, well, I'll take you up on that. And so they paid for my project management risk analysis or risk management, and then business analysis certifications. Geeky into that. So there was one thought, oh, I'm going to do some consulting work, or I'm going to do some project management work part-time somehow. I don't know, I was going to get that first client, but that was going to be one source of income. Of course, content creation was going to be some. I'll tell that story. I've probably told the story before, but for those new, I'll get to that in a minute. I was going to be a YouTuber. That was sort of my main plan. I got my real estate license shortly after retiring because I was going to do that part-time as well. More than anything, I think I just want to get on the MLS so I could go into houses, because it's always fun to look at the houses that are for sale, even if they're like way outside the price range of what we're looking at. It's fun to do. Of course, I've had that license for 2 years. I just renewed it. I haven't done a thing with it. I don't think at that time I was thinking of being a notary as well. I've added that certification since I retired, but I haven't done anything with that either. So all these different income streams with these things. I think it was me managing a rental property, and I was, of course, going to be pulling in some rental property money. That didn't happen. I don't think the workshop was on the list. I knew at some point I wanted to have a space to. I've been collecting tools for years, and my woodworking goes back 25 years. Did some little projects, and then 15 to 20 years ago. How long ago? I'm trying to think when I was stationed in Alaska. Yeah, 2000. Wow, 20 years ago? 20-ish years ago, I was stationed in Alaska, and I was doing more woodworking, more focused on things like cutting boards, making gifts for family members. And then I went hiking and was picking up caribou antler, and I got all into turning pens on the lathe, self-taught, absolutely the wrong lathe at first. Made some really horrible pens. I think they're still out there in the hands of a few hiking buddies of mine. But that really got me into turning wood on a lathe. And then taking classes over the years on some different things, bowl turning with David Ellsworth, and just some stuff at Woodcraft, Rockler, stores like that. So it was very focused on woodworking. And so when I did move into the shop, that was the focus. It was going to be a woodworking shop, and I've already gone off on the tangent. So it was retirement year one. Retirement year one. Had all these things I was going to do, and very few of them came true. I did play hockey a couple days a week. I did get on a team, played in a league one season. I had a little altercation with a jackass while playing a pickup game. Got elbowed in the throat. And hollered at unnecessarily. I'm not a great player, but seriously, F you if you're watching this, Eric. It was unnecessary to throw your stick at me. You're kind of a dick for that. Sorry for the language. And it just left a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth for in my throat for playing. Other pickup leagues I've played with, very supportive of all level of play. And I'm not a great hockey player, but I'm not the worst hockey player out there. So whatever. He should have skated around me. He decided to go right through me. Anyway, I digress. So I did play hockey for a little bit. I think that may be the one thing that I kind of did. But I was going to write a lot more. I was going to read a lot more. I was going to read a lot more, which was going to lead to writing a lot more. And I mentioned I was going to be a YouTuber. That was the other big thing. One of my Katusas, the Korean Army soldiers that were working with the U.S. Army. So he worked as public affairs and as a interpreter for me. He was asking me at one of my last performances what I was going to do when I retired. And I told him I was going to be a YouTuber. We talked about that over lunch. And then I met his father that night. And his father asked me, "Oh, what are you going to do when you retire?" And I told him I was going to be a YouTuber and that his son was going to be my video editor. I don't think he was terribly excited about me taking that path of working with me as my video editor. But in fact, he asked me if I liked, he asked me where I was going to retire. I told him Arizona. And then he asked me if I liked Korean food, which I told him yes. And he told me I should open a Korean restaurant here, which I thought was kind of funny. It's like I like the food, but I don't know how to make it. And incidentally, we recently found a really good Korean place, reasonably priced and pretty authentic to what we're used to when we were in Korea. Anyway, that was a good time. Good stuff. So this was all... that's what the retirement notebook said. Lots of things that didn't happen. But this was before I had this shop space. It's before I started 3D printing rubber ducks, well, they're plastic ducks. Plastic duck breeder now. And just the realities of the shop. Like I'll get into that in a minute. So my plans weren't wrong. They were good plans. They were optimistic plans. Because the money tied, that was the funny thing. The money tied to all the different streams. Maybe I can pull that up. What that retirement notebook looked like. Retirement, year one. I got my computer sitting down here. Yeah, I was, basically I was estimating I was going to be pulling in $1,000 a month from that real estate venture, not managing stuff, just averaged out through the year through commissions and different things. I'd probably, with the way prices are on houses around here, $12,000 would probably be my commission on a single sale. But my father told me this many years ago, or a couple years ago, when I got my license, because he had gotten his license before too, and he found the same thing. You can't. There's no such thing as a part-time. Excuse me. There's no such thing as a part-time real estate agent. That's just not a thing. I thought I was going to pull in about $500 a month from doing voiceover work. I don't know what the quality of my voice is right now as you hear this. If it's something you'd pay money for. But I don't know where the market is for that. All right. I've never set up a reel to, audition reels to do voiceover work. So whatever that was. Online content, I was also going to pull in about $500 a month on average on that. I've got 27 subscribers, I think, at the moment. Maybe we picked up a new one during this stream. Probably not. Online courses, 12,000 a year. I think I thought I was going to create an online course and people were going to pay me for it. This is bigger reality is probably this is how much I've spent on online courses over the last few years. That'd be more realistic. Consulting, doing workshops. I used to do a lot of work with like leadership training, design training using Lego, using an open source curriculum called Lego Serious Play. And my thought was, oh, I can do this too. But again, consulting work, workshop work like that, you can't do it part-time. You can't just throw a wish in the air and hope that, you know, someone calls you and wants you to facilitate this workshop for them. All very unrealistic. But I had rose-colored glasses on, I think, and it was just sort of this, what's the dream? What would it be? I was going to do some day trading. I was going to make big money on day trading, and that just, yeah. There's some people that have an eye for that, have a skill for that. I'm not one of those. Again, it's not something you can, like maybe you can do it in a couple hours a day, but you have to spend those couple hours a day, and you have to spend the many hours before all that knowing what trends you're looking for so you know what stocks to buy and whatever. So day trading didn't happen either. And then the one piece where I was completely wrong in my projection, well, I was wrong in my projections of all those sellers, but at least I way undercut how much I was making in retirement, which was good because that helps to offset my ridiculous projections of all the fields I didn't do any work on. So then I have this ideal on, in the military we call it a battle rhythm, sort of your daily schedule, not specific schedule, but how the day is blocked out. I think Cal Newport calls it schedule blocking, block scheduling. There's different terms for it, but basically my daily routine was going to, so the quote I have in there says, the daily routine repeated gains results. Okay, well that was going to be yoga for an hour in the morning, read for an hour in the morning, invest, trading for 2 hours. So each of the other ones were an hour each. 1 hour yoga, 1 hour reading, 2 hours investing, trading, 4 hours of work. I don't know what work that was going to be. 2 hours of play, whatever that is, an hour of yoga at night, and then an hour of reading, go to bed. So that was like a 12-hour schedule. It leaves me 12 other hours to eat, sleep, shower, family, all those other things. So that was reasonable. It just never really happened like that. So while so many other channels are doing their 2026 or their 2025 year in review, which they probably did back in December because they've been doing this a while and they plan a little bit better than I do, or currently they're doing their, here's my projection for 2026. These are 5 things I'm not going to repeat in 2026. These are 10 things I'm going to do in 2026. This is how I'm going to scale up my business in 2026. All these different things. Well, I really wanted to do that. I planned on doing that New Year's Eve. I was going to put that video out. Yeah, that didn't happen. So January is sort of my month for figuring it out. I got one big project that I'm working on heavily that I've got to get done this month. Like I've made that promise for too long. That's getting done this month. I'll talk about that more in a little bit. Otherwise, I'm taking some time to get the shop organized differently. I called it shop. I'm going to call it shop for the last time, I think. A little reframing there that I'll go over in a second as well. And get that other project done. And just have the stuff set up so by February, the studio is up and running the way I want it to run. And we'll jump there in a minute. So again, the plans weren't wrong. They were very optimistic. I was really looking through that filter of rose-colored glasses. Everything looked bright and shiny and overly optimistic, and way overestimated income I would get paid for doing things I didn't do, and by customers I didn't have because I didn't have the leads or anything else. Whatever. We live and learn. The main thing was I didn't want to leave the Army without a plan, because I've seen too many people falter as they leave the military, particularly after 3 decades plus. It was a huge fear for me of, it's kind of everything I knew. It was more than half my life. It was like math, 60% of my life, 2/3 of my life, I guess. 2/3 of my life at that time were spent in the military, and basically my entire adult life was there. So I didn't know things like looking for a corporate job. I don't even know what that looks like. I don't know that. I mean, I'd like to do that. Just try it out for a bit, check it out, see what it's all about. But my skill set doesn't transfer directly to that, or at least not on paper it doesn't. It would take a lot for me to get into the job that I would really like to do, being compensated at the level I think I should be compensated at. So I just kind of took that off the list because I wanted to do something different. So my 2026 focus is not yet declared, but that's coming soon. I worked for a leader in Alaska years ago. This when the Army was going through yet more and more change of, oh, we need to add this mandatory training and that mandatory training and this mandatory training. It got to the point where it's like, if based on a 40-hour week, units wouldn't have time to do their primary mission if all they did was the mandatory training, then that would be the full-time job. So this leader told me, your job as a leader is you're juggling a lot of balls. Some of them are made of glass, some of them are made of rubber. Your job is to determine which ones are glass and need to stay in the air, and which ones are rubber and can bounce. Deliberate decisions of what you are not going to do to ensure that you can do what are like the highest priority have-to-dos, and what things are on the nice-to-dos but aren't critical, so you can let those bounce. The mistake many people make is treating them all like they're glass balls. They all stay in the air, and that's eventually you have to stop juggling, and they all fall, they all break. Or it's too much. You're trying to keep. You've treated them all like they're glass, so you try to do everything, and that's like a quick recipe for failure. The other thing that kind of struck me of when I was in the military, obviously it was very structured, and it was like this, even this battle rhythm I laid out of what I was going to do each day. That's all on me. So it's very easy for me to go like, yeah, but I woke up late, so I'm not going to do that. Or I enjoyed just jumping right into that cup of coffee instead of doing yoga first, so I don't do the yoga first. In the military, it's like, well, you're doing physical training at this time, and then you've got a rehearsal at this time, and you've got a meeting at this time, and so much stuff is structured. The glass balls are better identified as glass balls to keep in the air that you can't miss. I mean, sometimes there's some negotiation of what's glass to one person isn't to another, and there certainly are a hell of a lot of that. But again, the structure is kind of built around you, and in the band field, even more so, because I have to have rehearsals at certain times that are based off of when performances are, and other people's schedules, and so a lot more structure. And now it's just like, let me fit into that structure and go from there. When you're in charge of the structure, boy, it's a lot more difficult to manage that way. So having more freedom, it requires better prioritization. And as I went over real estate agent, notary, consultant, voiceover actor, whatever, all these things, not everything can be number one. If they're all number one, none of them are number one. I worked with a guy before. I worked 2 senior non-commissioned officers I worked with at another unit. I won't name the unit. I won't name the sergeants that I was working with. One of them may actually watch this. He'll know who I'm talking about, but he's put in good light, so that's fine. So Sergeant A, we'll call him Sergeant A and Sergeant B. Sergeant A, which one do I want to do first? Sergeant A had a list, 1,000 items long, things he wanted to do with his group. And I worked with him because I'm the same. Like, I want to do all of them. It's really hard to prioritize. It's a little bit easier to prioritize when you're working with someone else on their list. So I was able to work with him, and I was like, good, let's take these 3 and make these 3 the goal for the next quarter, for the next half a year, the next year, whatever. And then, once we've completed those, or one of those, then we'll go back to the list, we'll reassess, reprioritize, then we'll pick the next group. Sergeant B had no list. He liked being in charge. He liked being paid to be in charge. He didn't like being in charge. He liked being paid at a rate of a leader. But he just didn't like to rock the boat. He didn't like change. He just wanted everything to stay the way it was. No initiative to make anything better for his group, anything. So I had a guy with a list 1,000 miles long and a guy with no list. Very difficult from a leadership perspective to work with those 2. Much easier to work with a guy with a huge list and just try to get him focused when you're a person that doesn't focus well yourself and you've known the guy for a very long time and you know each other's tendencies. That was kind of fun. Anyway, when it's all on you, when you've got the freedom of the schedule, when you've got the you got the freedom of schedule, even when some of it's not in my control. Like sometimes I've got work that needs to be done at the house, a roofer needs to come, air conditioning guy, pool guy, whoever. Sometimes it is based off their schedule to some extent, and I gotta get across town to do that. But that's normal life stuff, I guess. But when the rest of the schedule you control, it's even more difficult to prioritize, or it's even more important to prioritize, I guess, to keep that all up. All right. So what I've realized from a lot of this as I moved into this space, so I was hunting around. Once we decided we weren't going to look for a different house and I wasn't going to be able to fit my workshop into the garage at the house we're at. I've collected a lot of woodworking gear over the years. It was down in storage unit in South Carolina from 2 moves earlier than Korea, because we lived in a smaller place in Virginia before we moved to Korea. Couldn't take any of it to Korea, obviously, and then landed in Arizona. And it's like, okay, I need to get that stuff out of that storage in South Carolina and get it shipped here, and I don't want to put it in another storage unit. I was hunting for a workshop space and ended up finding this place, and it's just, I'm going to lean a little bit this way so you can see that window, and that window is sort of the key that brought me in. And then this main section here, from right through your head, through the overhead door on that side, which is probably a 20-foot door. I think it's about 40 feet. Yeah. Let's call it 40 feet front to back, 20 feet wide-ish. Big space there, and then I got a bump out to the side that's like 12 by 24. That was going to be a video studio for a bunch of other stuff I do. But the main section here, woodworking, and then again, I was going to be a YouTuber, so I was going to use this video set, build a set. So I did yoga videos at one point, Arpeggio Yoga, go check that channel out. There's some old videos on there. I kept at that for about 9 videos and then stopped. But I was going to build a little set to do video podcasting, gear reviews. I was going to do a channel called Gear Pub, where I'd be sharing whatever craft beer I was drinking that day while reviewing some kind of gear, backpacks, microphones, woodworking stuff, who knows what, whatever I bought off Amazon. All that was going to happen in there. I'll get to that in a minute. But primarily it was like woodworking shop because that's what I knew. Since 20-some years ago, when I started building up my arsenal of woodworking equipment and made my first cutting boards in Alaska, found the antler, and made pens. Things got building and building. In South Carolina, I had a separate building behind my house, 600 square foot shop with an apartment above it. So I had the studio space above, drum set up, photo, video studio upstairs, and honey processing. I was beekeeping at the time as well, so I could I could extract honey up there. I had a bathroom and a kitchen, all stuff. It was just, what an awesome little setup. And 600 square foot shop below. Really great, really awesome until I had a fire 8 years ago and lost all of that. And insurance replaced a lot of the equipment, which went into storage, and there it sat for all this time. So in my head, like I've had shops, 2.5 car garage, that was all shop in Virginia at one point, single car garage in Maryland, but that was just for the woodworking stuff. That was a nice little challenge to fit that in there, but I didn't need it for studio space as well, so I moved drums and all that into the basement there. That all worked out fine. And then South Carolina, big shop down there, plus the studio above, all this awesome space. This is sort of the first time where I've been settled somewhere for a while where I didn't have shop space in the house, which is kind of new for me. So, drums are stored in a storage unit, and this was going to be the place for all of that, including drums. But then my landlord, who's also a drummer, said, yeah, that ain't happening. Not in this warehouse area. It'll be disruptive to other tenants. Okay, can't do it. All right. In reality, I couldn't do it in here anyway. Just the dust from woodworking would be great. In the end, I don't think what I was really looking to have, though, was a woodworking shop. While that's always been my thing, at least I've been always telling myself that's my thing. Like, yeah, the lathe work, making pens, which were great sellers when I was in Alaska, selling Alaskan caribou antler pens to visitors and Alaskans alike at a farmer's market. Got to talk to them firsthand. Selling pens like that on Etsy now, everyone's selling pens on Etsy, but you don't get a chance to tell a story or have them hold it in their hand first, so it's very hard to sell that way, and I'm not looking to go set up a booth anywhere to set things up. So that is what it is. It's still something fun, something I enjoy doing, and something I'll probably still do. I'll list things, but stuff I give as gifts as well. So that'll continue, but overall, while moved into this space with the idea that it's a woodworking shop, it very quickly started to morph into other things. And I bought a CNC router. I was told, like, that's your first employee once you get that thing set up and running a job. And I've done a few things on it, and I really need to dedicate some more time to working exclusively in that. And I've got some projects this year that I'm going to use the CNC a lot for, and that's going to be cool once the boxes are off of it. Then I bought, there's a guy local that I buy my router bits for the CNC from. And I went over to his shop to pick some of those up one day, a year ago maybe. And he showed me his 3D printer, Bamboo Lab X1 Carbon, I think he had. Or he may have the P1S, one of those. Anyway, I got all of them now. So that was cool. I remember making fun of a guy, not making fun of a guy, but I thought he was kind of nerdy. A guy I worked with in Korea who had a 3D printer in his barracks room. I was just like, that's nerdy, until I saw what he was making with it. Excuse me. He was making like a 8-sided dice or 10-sided dice, 12-sided dice, whatever, with the different musical keys on it. So when he practiced, he would roll the dice and it would pick, you know, it would give him a note name. Maybe the other die was major, minor, you know, different things. So he'd roll the dice and then he'd know what scales, you know, for his warm-up to practice, or where to start his warm-ups around a certain scale. So I was like, oh, that's kind of neat. So there was that introduction, and then the guy that makes the router bits showed me his and some of the stuff he was making for the shop. And that was the whole thought process from the beginning of getting the 3D printer was, oh, cool, all these little things I would normally hunt around Amazon or wherever to buy, I could just print right there. Like, imagine, like, I need a drywall anchor for something, and rather than going to the store and like, oh, I need 6 of them, and they come in a 5-pack or a 25-pack, well, I bought a 25-pack, and now I've got 19 left over that I don't need, probably again, or I won't be able to find them when I do need them. If I need 6, isn't it cool? I could just go to the 3D printer and find a model and print them. And it cost me like 30 cents, and then I use them and all set. And if they don't work, fine, it didn't cost me much. So kind of a neat little thing. And then somewhere along the way, I came across this guy who makes, you know, like a rubber duck. There's a bunch I could grab. I won't get into ducks too much. But I print a rubber duck, not a rubber duck, it's a plastic duck. One that looks like a Great Dane. I think that was the first one I printed, or a French Bulldog. And I print these guys and I put them up on Etsy. I make a shop called What the Duck Toy Company, and someone buys this small little Great Dane duck. All right, $8 plus shipping. Cool. Thank you. Then I got into a licensing agreement with the designer of all these ducks. I've got about 100 of them listed now. And well, Christmas sales were much better than right now. There's a little bit of a lull, but I've already had some sales in the new year. But let's just call it an average of a sale a day on these things. So good, a little bit of money coming through just by making these ducks. I make them, photograph them, then list them, then sell them. Not getting ahead of my skis on it because I don't want to have a model where I'm going to make things after someone's ordered it, and then I'm obligated to make a thing now that didn't already exist. So cleaning it up, packaging it, mailing it is much easier than going, you ordered product ABC, let me go print it now, it'll be ready in a day and a half, and then drag. I don't like it that way. Anyway, that's What the Duck Toy Company. So one 3D printer became 2 3D printers, became 4 3D printers, and that's where I've stopped scaling it. I can keep 3 of them running with ducks. And at this point now, I've got so much stock built up. I'm just discovering which ones do people buy repeatedly. There are a lot of ducks I've reprinted. I usually print 6 to 9 of them at a time, depending on the size of them that fit on a plate. And so I'm keying in more on which ones sell a lot. And so now it's just a matter of reprinting when stock gets low. And if there's some really cool new ones that come out, like recently I've released the Donald Trump duck, which I haven't sold any yet. all the military PT uniform, winter PT and summer PT uniforms for the different services. Those are kind of cool, but also I haven't sold those yet, so I need to work on marketing those. So I've got 3 running, ducks most of the time, at least overnight, and then I've got 1 that I keep for shop prints. And right now I'm doing a couple projects for some organization tools in the shop, in the studio. So all the printers are running those things right now. Yeah, so things morphed. CNC, I got some laser engravers, started with the X-Tool F1 Ultra, then picked up an S1, and so I do a lot of laser engraving of, probably the coolest set I do is the ammo cans that I engrave, custom engrave, usually for military customers, usually as gifts. You know, with the rank name on the handles, on the top, on the front latch, on both sides. They really look sharp when done right. Do a lot of those. I've done thousands and thousands of slate coasters, which is cool. It brings in a little bit of money into the shop, and easy enough to do. Don't mind doing those. So 2 lasers, 4 3D printers, CNC router, which would technically be a woodworking tool. But since that's probably 80% of the work I do, in fact, 80% of the work I do is lasers and 3D printers, it's not really a woodworking shop anymore at that point. I don't want to be a toy company. I don't want to be a laser engraving service. But I do those things. I don't want to be a straight woodworking shop. But I do those things. I don't want to be a straight CNC operator, but I do those things. And a lot of this comes around to being able to answer the question of what is it you do? Or what's that shop you have over there? In fact, I just met a guy today who was unloading across the street. Some young guys that have a design shop. They do custom wheels for trucks and RVs and things. Really cool work. Those guys moved down the road a little ways, but I think his lease is still running in one of the buildings. They had, I think, 3 shop spaces over here. The one across from me is still leased out, and so his dad is moving in there now. It's a little closer to my age, might still be a little bit younger than me. Doing something similar-ish to me, except he's setting up all his cabinets and stuff right now, pre-built. I think he does more cabinet work. He's worked for general contractors before, and trim work, and more straight woodworking things. But he said, too, it's just kind of hobbyish for him moving in there, or he's looking to kind of do some general contracting on his own, or just some specialty work. He said it might be a failed business like mine. Because I was kind of joking. He said, I understand you guys CNC. And it's like, oh, that's funny. Like, from the guys being over here and meeting me, that's what they told their father was, yeah, he's got a CNC. Like, that was their thought of what it was I was doing in here, mainly. And it's like, well, I haven't used the CNC for a few months now. And if you look way back there into those boxes, that's what's hiding under there. So, anyway, it's no longer, at one point I was calling this, the main company is called Arpeggio Workshop, LLC, and I had doing business as Arpeggio Woodworks, because that was going to lead to the Etsy shop with that. And it's like, that's not really what I'm doing. It's not straight up woodworking, because how do you list 3D printed things or laser engraved things in the woodworks shop? How do you list straight up woodworking stuff like lathe turned pens, even antler pens, or CNC work in a laser engraving shop? Or how do you list 3D printed ducks in a woodworking shop? So none of these things really fit in. So the duck company had to become its own store, and ValorCraft US, or I may even end up just dropping the US and just call it ValorCraft Workshop as that Etsy shop. That does include some woodworking, very little woodworking, but mostly things that have been laser engraved or carved on the CNC go in there, or they're military service member, first responder related gift items go in ValorCraft. It does have a little bit of a different bent on it. And then there's a third Etsy shop called Arpeggio Design, which will house the things like the pens and the cutting boards and decorative items. Could be woodworking, could be some other things. It could be mixed medium. And so that's where I'm getting at, where I say it was never intended to be just a woodworking shop. Still a workshop, but when you say workshop, that makes people think woodworking shop, I think, often. So while it's still going to be called, this channel is still called ValorCraft Workshop, because again, the workshop is a lot more of a metaphor for what I'm thinking, as well as the physical space. I'm really going to try to refer to the space more as my creative studio, because the approach I was taking, and if I'm jumping around a lot, I am. When you start a store on Etsy with one product, I remember what my first product was on Etsy, on the ValorCraft site. It was probably laser engraved coasters, let's say. So I'm doing laser engraved coasters. Well, what else can you laser engrave? Well, I can also do ornaments. Okay, let me do some Christmas ornaments. And there, you know, it had gnomes or it had snowmen. Well, this had zero to do with the military audience, but it was something I could do with a laser. What else can I do with a laser? Well, I can etch glasses and stuff. Okay, let me do some glasses. I don't do a lot of those unless it's part of the ammo can whiskey set. But it's like, I don't want to, sure, I have a phrase with that site, like I can engrave pretty much everything, anything. How do I word it? I can engrave almost, I put in parentheses, almost anything on almost everything. I've engraved a banana. Why? Because if you can tape a banana to a wall and call it art, I figure I can engrave a banana and call it a product. But since you can engrave literally pretty much everything, when do you stop? When do you? It becomes very product driven. So I started searching for the products. All right, which ones are easy to make? They have a larger profit margin. And then I've got lists and lists. I've got hundreds of products I could make. Most of them aren't very exciting to me. So then I go through this whole purge process of like, all right, reel it back in. What are the things I want to make that have the wide profit margin, that still fit the idea of military audience, veteran audience, first responder audience? But still, that's product first, and then rolling back to like, could I make it? Yes. And then you got to go back and make them. And when someone orders a product like a gnome or a snowman Christmas ornament, and it's like, cha-ching. That's what the Etsy app does when you make a sale. It gives you a little cha-ching. That's really cool. Now I got to cut it. I got to personalize the engraving on it, make sure I have the spelling of the name right, get it in the right place. I have to paint it, glue it up right. And when I hear cha-ching, and then I go, that tells me I don't have the right alignment of product. And where I'm trying to get at, away from workshop that makes certain products, I want to turn it back into a creative studio. I have some background in design thinking. I belong to a group in Washington, D.C. called Design Thinking DC. And what I would rather do is build a creative studio, build the design thinking lab to where I can come in and I can play. It's not a bad word. It can still be work. But I can explore. I can discover things. I can throw various ideas out here that work with wood, that work in 3D printed materials, different plastics, that could be laser cut, that could be laser engraved, could be carved on a CNC, may have some element that's turned on a lathe, may need some panel work or something done on a cabinet saw. All the different tools and all the different workspaces cleaned up and usable. That's a big goal this week, is to have those work surfaces, all those flat surfaces that start to collect things, get those organized. So that's truly that creative studio, think maker space. But it's my maker space that it's sort of been set up for me. If you think of like getting into a car where you've got the preset buttons for the mirrors and your seat and the back and the lumbar support and the forward and back, up and down, and you get in and you press that button and it's set for you, and you make your adjustments and you lock that preset in again. And that's where I'm trying to get. I'm trying to get the preset in here, set up. A couple presets probably. One is one preset for just creative exploration. Discover new things, experiment with. I want to make clocks. I want to do more wood carving, even if it's power tool wood carving. Just play with sculpture and shape, 3 dimensions, adding elements of different things together. So I want a space where I can throw all these different ideas in, ideas can collide, and we can come up with new things. And then, when I've created that thing, and it's marketable, like, hey, that was a new widget that's never been done before, or not in that way, or not with this style. And that's pretty interesting. It's kind of artistic and creative, and maybe someone would like to buy that. Well, that's then what goes to the Arpeggio Design Etsy page to be sold. Now, there are some product first things. The ducks are very much product first. The designer creates 4 new designs a week. I'm licensed to sell those. I print the ones I want to print, the ones I think will sell, and list them, sell them. Very much product first. If you want to buy this duck, Harry Potter duck, mariachi duck, Great Dane duck, whatever, there it is, there's stock, buy it. Oh, you bought them all? I'm going to reprint some, restock. Very product first. Slate coasters, I've got some that are not custom. It's the CW6 set. It's Warrant Officer 1, CW2, 3, 4, 5, and then an aggregate of all the Warrant Officer ranks. So 6 coasters, it's pre-done. Yep, I just hit go, laser engrave them, mail those out. Other ones are more custom. Oh, you want to order 100 coasters with a certain design on it. Okay, then we're back and forth on the design, da-da-da-da. So I want to create some presets for those products that are just go, 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 that are product first things, but the other preset is, all right, the creative preset, so that I can iterate, fast prototyping of things, fail fast, but explore and see. That was the whole intent of this space to begin with. So 2026 is sort of the realization of like, yes, this is a woodworking shop. That's not all it is. So I'm stopped calling it workshop and more lab, more creative studio space. So it's that balance of production versus creative play. And another realization I had, was trying to run all this at 100% capacity is kind of a fool's errand to, I'm realizing now I've got 2 microphones going, so that audio might be super weird. I just muted the other one, so maybe we're good. recipe for disaster, for failure of trying to run all these different aspects at 100% capacity. It's a fool's errand, and it leads to burnout quick. And I'm already relieved just reframing things from it being the workshop, producing certain products, and just trying to be like, I've got to be the guy that sells 10 ducks a day. No, you got to sell the right ones. You got to print the right ones. You got to make limit the number of products that are product first, things you can do well with a profit quickly. Great. Let that feed, but you need to leave ample space, wiggle room for the creative play. So protecting the slack, as I call it. Like, I leave the shop at a little bit after 2 every day. I've got pickup runs to do for my family at school, at the respective schools. If I book myself, if I schedule myself all the way to 2 o'clock, I'm screwed. I'll be trying to get out of the door and can't, because there'll be things that are finishing up, and as you may have realized after I've probably been talking for an hour now, I tend to ramble a little bit. So building in that slack space and protecting that, because it's going to get filled up. If I really get in a flow of creative flow, I'm not going to want to stop. So if I have a backstop to the backstop, that'll be good. I've talked a little bit before about different channels I've got out there. So there's the ValorCraft ValorCraft Workshop channels, this YouTube channel where you're watching now. There's no one watching right now, but 4 people have tuned in for a second, I guess. If you're one of those people who may at some point watch this channel or watch the other videos on this channel, again, ValorCraft Workshop is here on YouTube, and there's the Instagram page for it as well, which really is just a lot of my shorts will get posted there as reels, and yeah, they'll get posted as reels there, and I think it also automatically posts it to I don't do a whole lot on the Facebook side of it, and sort of just auto mode of putting it out there in different spots. And if I really care a whole lot about the social media, I would either dump the Instagram and the Facebook and just focus on YouTube, or I would be better about getting on TikTok and there and Instagram and YouTube, all of them, but really tailor the output or the format for that, the content for those things. So I talked about head, hands, heart, H3 framework, and that is really all of ValorCraft, is all 3 of those things. So if you're pitching sort of a Venn diagram, the whole pie is made up of head, hands, heart for ValorCraft Workshop. For Moments of Will, again, I'm really keeping that focused on writing. There is a YouTube channel out there. It's not called the Moments of Will, but it was similarly focused, called something else. I'm leaving it out there right now. At some point, I may start producing video content for Moments of Will, if it's appropriate. But I'm kind of leading Moments of Will from the writing standpoint as a blog, and ValorCraft Workshop, which also has a blog, but I don't put much there. Sometimes I'll cross-post to that, but it's really video first, because I'm anticipating at some point, again, right now the workshop is the vehicle for this discovery, for this thinking out loud. But I want to ramp off from this in a few years to where that vehicle may be, and not even in a few years. My family, we travel a lot, and we spend a couple months in the summer overseas. So I need a way to take ValorCraft Workshop, which again, physical space right now is this workshop, this studio space. But I need a way to take ValorCraft Workshop on the road, so I can still write every Friday, write a blog post, and respond to comments over the weekend, and then do a video, a live like this on Monday on ValorCraft Workshop that jumps off from the blog post from the week before and other discoveries I had about that topic over the weekend, and then projecting forward through the week. I can do that in the workshop. I could be in Spain, and I can still do those things. And then eventually, there won't be a workshop space, and I will be completely living overseas, or living overseas half the year, or traveling most of the year. Maybe this becomes more the rental vehicle, like the borrowed vehicle for this, where the travel is more primary. And will ValorCraft Workshop still be the best title for it? I don't know. Maybe that then morphs into Moments of Will. I wasn't going to go deep into that, but that's as deep as I'll go in that right now. So Moments of Will right now, again, writing based, writing focused, writing first focused. And that's really more head and heart, not so much the hands-on, right? Because it's just writing. It's more the thinking on paper, more organized thought. So if you look at that pie is more head and heart, but the overlap isn't even in the heart piece of these. I can pop a graphic up on something someday. So head, hands, heart for ValorCraft Workshop, head and heart for Moments of Will, and that overlap of the Venn diagram is really the head, the mind, the thinking. Thinking on paper, organized thought, and then responding out loud and riffing on what it is I wrote the previous week on Monday mornings. Head's the overlap. The studio is the current vehicle, but those vehicles change. Like I said, that vehicle could be travel overseas, it could be travel somewhere local, it could be, that vehicle could be my kitchen. I cook a lot. I try different marinades, I try different ways to prepare our steaks and fish, and I like making cheesecakes, kind of go all out for Thanksgiving and do all the cooking on that. So hey, maybe it turns into sometimes the vehicle's a bit of a cooking channel, I don't know. It could be product reviews, so it could be a different vehicle from that. I could record those anywhere as well. So what was that Lance Armstrong book? It's not about the bike. There's a head game in a lot of these things. And right now, my mind, my thoughts are traveling through this workshop as my vehicle. So another thing I include at the bottom of those blogs are inspirations, things I've been kind of looking at that week. And so it's just kind of reading what they were from the blog. But there's a couple books I've got open at the moment. Well, one primarily. I'm trying to get better at just reading a single book and actually finishing it rather than reading 2 pages of 20 books. I'd rather read just one book and I'd have something done. But the main book I'm reading right now is Every Tool's a Hammer by Adam Savage. This is the guy from Mythbusters. He's got I've been watching his YouTube channel a lot lately too. He's got really cool workshop, and I'm that's the other thing with ValorCraft Workshop. I'm not trying to be Adam Savage. I'm not trying to be John Malak. Inspirations listed here: Paddle Your Own Canoe by Nick Offerman. You may know him. He's a comedian, and he's on the Parks and Rec. He played Ron Swanson on Parks and Rec. But he also is a woodworker and has this phenomenal workshop, Offerman Woodworks, I think it's called, or Offerman Workshop, Offerman something with wood. And I'm not trying to be him either. Another inspiration here, Deep Work by Cal Newport. Again, block scheduling is a big thing of his. Kind of that slow burn, slow thinking, slowing things down is a big concept of his, but I'm also not trying to be Cal Newport, although the length of this live stream right now, you might think I am trying to be Cal Newport because his podcasts tend to be pretty long. But there's aspects of his stuff, which leads to, here's another one. He's always an inspiration for things, but from a previous blog, but I'll add it back in. Austin Kleon's an author. Kleon or Cleon? I call him Austin Kleon. Cleon? Not sure. Anyway, he's written, the first book I got from him was Steal Like an Artist. There's an old saying, a good drummer steals a little, a great drummer steals a lot. Sort of this idea of there are no, at the core, any real original ideas. Or this is my interpretation. I got to go back and reread it. It's probably not what he says in there at all. But the way I interpret a lot of it is stealing ideas from others and then making them your own. Adding something, taking something, fixing something, or fixing, not that it was broken, but that it didn't work for what you're trying to do. So steal ideas from others, make them your own, improve upon them for your customer base or for yourself, whatever. Steal Like an Artist. Show Your Work is another book he wrote, which is very much, his titles are awesome because you kind of know what it's about. Show Your Work is sort of thinking, kind of what I'm doing right now, thinking out loud in public, like kind of a scary thing. And but putting that stuff out there, and then we find out, other people comment on it, get feedback from others, make adaptions to our things that we're working on, or not, or just know the feedback. But not being shy and being vulnerable enough to put those things out there in public and get the growth that comes with those honest critiques that you may get from it. And then his other books keep going. He's got another one he's writing right now that I think comes out later this year. Anyway, Austin's always been a good one, and I subscribe to his Substack. I should probably put a link to his Substack as my inspirations, because I do subscribe to his and get his newsletter every week. Find it very interesting. Then the other inspiration for this week, podcast I've been listening to, used to be Money Lab, Matt Giovannisi. I'm sure I said his name wrong. Giovannisi, Giovannisci. Just look up, the podcast is called Business Casual. It used to be Money Lab. Now it's called Business Casual. He has a company called Swim University. It's an online education YouTube channel, essentially, but he also sells courses on how to take care of your swimming pool. He's been working with pools since he was a teenager and built this company to do online education of how to take care of your pools and hot tubs. And he makes $1 million a year doing this. But he has other interests too. He's got a channel called Brew Cabin. He likes to brew beer, so he documents some of that. He's had other channels as well, but these are his main things. His main passion is making the beer, the Brew Cabin, and then this Business Casual. Every day, he's, at least during the week, every day he's posting maybe a half hour of him walking through his brewery and just talking about different things he's working on for the main company, Swim University, and other things too. Just online marketing, things, online business, educational content, stuff like that. He's just got a really nice perspective on how this works. He works with his wife and his brother on this project, and anyway, that's an inspiration. I listen to him as much as I can. All right, my focus this week, again, I got this major project going on for some indoor signage for my Pilates studio, my Pilates instructors studio. That's morphed a little bit in scope since we started it. I've done outdoor signage for her and now I'm doing some indoor signs. We're going to go one direction with it. Then I was inspired by a few different designs, and it's nice. She's my only kind of local client for custom work like this at this scale, and she understands I'm kind of a slow burner on stuff. Like, it's going to get done, it's going to get done right. It's just going to get done in my time, which doesn't always jive with everyone else's timeline. But she's been very gracious with understanding that's how I work, and has been happy with the product that comes out of it and the new idea. I can build some new skills with the new designs that are going in, where she's going to be very happy with it, and I'm going to be happy learning these new skills and knowing the scope of the entire project, the whole studio redesign, makes it a lot better than when I was initially making a sign for one wall for the way the space was then, and now knowing how the whole thing's changing. So now I know I'm doing in 3 different spaces. So it kind of informs all of them. It's gonna be really cool. I'm really excited about it. But this is where I really gotta like get the space cleaned up, prepped for me to get that work done. It's gonna be really cool. And I'm gonna document all that. It'll be a shorter video than this long ass live that's going on right now. So, I want to document the work. Obviously, it's like you double, triple your time when you're documenting the work, like just trying to capture it. So some of the video capture might be kind of crappy, just so that I can document it some, and then maybe I can overdub voice on some of it. Otherwise, without having the camera crew with me and someone else doing the editing, and I'm a one-man shop, like literally, in everything I do here. So doing that, you have to cut some corners on things. They're not going to be Academy Award-winning performances. They're going to be what they are, just kind of as it is. So learning new skills with that project, and getting the place set up so new things can be created naturally, and that's going to lead to the product ideas from there. All right, so I've talked way too long. And again, 4 people have popped on at some point to view for a second. There's no one currently watching, which I completely understand. I didn't announce this thing, and I'm glad I didn't, because it wouldn't have been running at 8 o'clock anyway. But next week, that'll be the goal. Yes, that'll be the goal for next week. Fridays, I write sort of my end of the week essay, some thoughts on the week, and thoughts of things to come. Weekends, I will respond to comments from that, which will inform my videos for Monday. And I don't know if we're still broadcasting. There's an error message. We'll see. Yeah, so writing, speaking on Mondays, and then extracting some shorts from that. I'll still pop in some my short show your work videos, work in process videos, and what other things do I do? The occasional plan of the day or a gear review, mostly shorts, things I can do quickly and get up fast. And Tuesdays, we'll get sort of an abridged version of this. I don't know what you'll see tomorrow, because this will be editing, 2 hours of video, hour and a half of video down into something small, which I might be able to do. We'll see. But paying attention is the work. It's documenting things as the thoughts come in my head and going from there. So this wasn't a short, concise overview. I apologize for that. In the future, I may just set a timer and say, guess what? These Monday morning briefs are going to be 30 minutes, and it happens in 30 minutes, or it doesn't happen. And that is what it is. So with that, I think I'm going to bring this to a close. This is ValorCraft Workshop.